So this is going to be the first part, no, not the first part, but the third part of Thus Spoke Zarathustra. And we're going to go ahead with the summary and analysis of part 1, speeches 12 to 22. I guess that this is going to be the last one featuring part 1, but I am not actually quite sure. So therefore, we're gonna see. It's not that long today, to be honest. I think yesterday was longer. Well, I'm not gonna waste time anyways. So let's start. On the flies of the marketplace. And once again, I'm not gonna say Zarathustra all the time, because first of all, I don't know the right pronunciation, and second of all, it is just a necessary pain in my ass. Therefore, I'm gonna say Zara, or Zara, or however I'm gonna pronounce it. Zara returns to the marketplace, the place where he encountered the tightrope walker in the prologue. This time he is speaking to a disciple. After finishing his speech on the modern state, Zara turns his attention to the marketplace, the place where ideas are exchanged. He begins to categorize the people of the market. He tells the disciple that what counts in a place such as this is showmanship. He says that there are great men, those who can attract the crowd and passionately express their opinions and ideas. These powerful people, the best showmen, are the politicians and intellectuals. They know best how to attract the crowd and to dominate the exchange of ideas. Zara calls those who serve these powerful people the flies of the market. But at the end of his teaching, Zara shows the disciple that constantly being immersed in the marketplace is not the way to ascend. The exchange of ideas can only come from frustration when a person retreats into solitude to let the ideas come to light. Or solitude, is more necessary and noble than the market. On chastity. Well, I guess it is chastity. After encouraging his disciples to seek solitude, Zara addresses chastity, a kind of solitude. Here, Zara begins to explain the teachings that he began in previous sections. In the prologue, Zara outlines his view that the body should experience pleasure and pain through the self. Here, Zara shows that he is not advocating a hedonistic lifestyle in which a person can give into any desire. Zara's true project is to have his followers channel their desires into spiritual desire that will help them ascend to the state of overman. For Zara, not all are suited for chastity. For many, chastity only causes one to burn inside with lust and sensuality, desires that will eventually destroy a person. Chastity is a desirable state, but Zara echoes the Apostle Paul when he says that a person is better to marry than to burn with lust. Honor the friend. Do you guess it's going to be quite cool? I don't know. In this speech, Zara speaks of friendship that is disciple to one that would be his disciple. Zara says that friendship should inspire envy between friends, each friend urging the other through jealousy to ascend to a higher level of enlightenment. For Zara, all friendship must have this utility, or it is a worthless relationship. If a man sees excellence or flaws in his friends, Zara teaches that he should seek solitude in order to reflect on how to attain the same excellence and how to overcome the same flaws in himself. In solitude, Zara's disciples gain a spirit of victory, a spirit that leads them towards enlightenment. And I gotta have to say, even though in the first place, or just, reading through it the first time and then hearing it the first time, it might sound a bit odd. It might sound a bit, I don't want to say necessarily bad, but should you have a friendship that's making you feel envious and jealous? But by further explaining what he means, I think it is a really good thing. And I was trying to see it, or to see whether I'm having this in my life, and well, I do have it to some degree in my life as well, which, I think it is amazing. I mean, I am in general very fortunate to be surrounded by people that are just amazing, like really amazingly smart people. Most often, it is insane. It really is, and people with, quite similar interests, and well, quite similar people. I mean, they're similar to me, but still, of course, they are not me. They all have flaws and better sides than me, if you understand what I mean. But they all are very smart, I would say, which I'm very grateful for and very fortunate, to be honest, as well. On the 1,000 Goals and One. In this speech, Zara tells of his great travels. He has seen many cultures and civilizations and has found that all of them define goods and evils within them. However, these goods and evils are never the same. One culture might view as good what another culture views as evil, and vice versa. A culture finds worth in overcoming great difficulties. A culture identifies its highest need, its greatest difficulty, and when that thing is overcome, a culture calls it holy. Zara teaches his disciples that all great meaning is created by humans. Humanity creates laws and ideas to overcome the difficulties it faces in society. A person is first a creator who assigns value to things. Only second is the person an individual. People, Zara teaches, value the community over the ego, which proves that humanity has not reached its highest goal. Zara says that there have been 1,000 different cultures and 1,000 different goals, but the Overman, the 1,001st goal of humanity, is the ultimate goal. Well, and I do want to point out, and I do want to underline, there's so many things that we just think are valuable. And if you personally just don't think that something is valuable, then it makes sense that you're not pursuing it. I mean, let's actually talk about something that might be desirable. Health, for example. A lot of people are striving for health, just working out every day, eating healthy every day. But on the other hand, you could just also eat shit every single fucking day and let this be your life. You can't do that. You really can. And you, on the other hand, or just through this and, well, because of this, have to give a fuck about what other people think. Because if you're a fat ass, people are gonna look, people are gonna talk about you, people are gonna be whatever. You need to be healthy, you need to do this and that and whatnot, even though it's not the best example. I do have to admit that. But I think it kind of illustrates what I'm thinking about. And I mean, we personally in our personal lives are also just giving meaning to certain things and value to certain things. As he says, a person is first a creator who assigns value to things. We value certain things. I mean, I might be valuing being productive and doing things and getting shit done. This is what I kind of like to do. This is what I value. This is what I think is important. And for somebody else, it might be something completely different, which is fine and nice. But if you think about it, if you think negatively, or if you feel negatively about something or because of something, it is just because of the value that you've given to this certain thing, whether it is a scenario, action, object, or whatever. Well, you've got a necklace from your grandmother. This is some value that you've given to this object. And if you lose it, you're probably not going to be that happy because you've just given this object so much value or this certain value. It's insane if you think about it. On love of the neighbor. Zara turns the lessons of the great prophets on their heads. Should people love their neighbors? Zara answers, no. A person should love himself more than he loves his neighbor. Until a person truly recognizes the scared or sacred nature of his individuality, he will not become the overman. Zara claims that people love their neighbors because they want someone to think highly of them. Loving one's neighbor is actually a selfish thing, but people don't think of it this way. For Zara, the desire to reach the goal of overman should be greater than the desire to love one's neighbor. Instead of finding a neighbor, Zara encourages his disciples to find a friend to compete with for enlightenment. On the way of the Creator. Zara has now begun to create a kind of disciple that will follow his teachings and strive to attain the level of overman. To achieve this goal, his disciples must go into solitude. As mentioned before, This speech tells a disciple what to expect when he does venture into that solitude. Zara tells his disciples that even though they are leaving the conventions of the world, they will still carry the voice of the herd with them. This voice will make them feel guilty for going their own way, but once the disciples overcome this guilt, they will be free to dictate their own rules and laws for themselves. The quote-unquote herd will disapprove of this, but it is a necessary step on the way to the overman. Zara tells the disciple that the one who goes into solitude, the one who begins to ascend to the overman, will be the one that the herd will hate the most. Zara himself discovers this after his encounter with the masses in the market. Zara tells his disciple that if he wants to be a star, he must shine through for them all the more. Zara warns that the one in solitude will meet many enemies, but the worst enemy will always be the self. The self will want to go back to the herd and will try to sabotage the ascension. Well, yeah, all people that, if you're striving for something, there's always going to be that voice like, it is fine to rest today. It is fine to just have 10 reps instead of 12. It is fine to not read that. It is fine if you don't practice today. It is, just take one day off. It's going to be okay. It's going to be fine. But no, it's not. On Little Women, Old and Young. This speech opens with someone taunting Zara, asking him why he sneaks around as if he is concealing something beneath his coat. Zara answers that he is concealing something, a great truth that threatens to cry out. He tells the mocker that he met an old woman on the road that day, and the old woman wanted Zara to speak to her about women. Zara replied that he should only speak to men about women, implying that he can only teach men of the sight of women, but he consented to talk to the old woman anyway. Zara tells the old woman that a woman's only role is to be pregnant. He calls man a warrior and a woman a warrior's dangerous plaything. The woman should be for the man's pleasure and nothing more. A man, Zara says, is childish and needs a plaything. This is the role that a woman can fill. A woman's greatest challenge is to be the one that can give birth to an overman. Zara then changes the tone of the teaching to show what a woman's love is meant to do. A woman should give sacrificially to a man. Her love should be a wonderful yet fearful thing for a man. He should play with her love, yet also be afraid of it. When a woman gives such love, she becomes obedient to the husband and thus fulfills her true desires. A man's desires are deep and strong according to Zara, and woman can only intuit such desires. The old woman, a sly character, tells Zara that his teachings are good even though he has so little contact with women. This is meant to be a playful taunt, acknowledging that Zara's teachings is for young women, not old women. The old woman then goes to give Zara's teachings to the young women of the town. Well, I do want to point out, no. You can interchange things there. You can interchange or exchange, or actually both genders here. Him speaking about man in a certain way. You could also say, okay, this is the same with women, and man. Anyway, on the adder's bite. Zara falls asleep under a fig tree, and an adder appears and bites him on the neck. Zara is awakened by the bite and stares into the snake's eyes. The snake tries to get away, but Zara catches him, or it, and thanks him for the bite. The adder replies that his bite can kill a man, but Zara tells the snake that his bite could not kill a dragon. Quote unquote, a dragon. Zara tells the snake to take back his poison, and the snake licks the wound clean. The fuck? Zara's disciples ask what the point of this story is. Zara begins to explain what their relationship to others should be. Zara's teachings are a refutation of the New Testament's imperative to do good. Instead, Zara tells his disciples that a person should give others what they deserve. Sarah does not try to do good to the snake that bites him. Instead, since the snake knows that Sarah should kill him, Sarah forces the snake to clean his wound. In Sarah's world, taking revenge is more humane than not taking revenge. If a person does wrong to another person, that person should return the wrong. This is a kind of justice administered by the overman. The quote-unquote good of the world might not agree with such a teaching, but Sarah says that those who subscribe to such concepts of good and evil are condemned anyway. Which I'm having very, very heavily, by the way. I would never ever seek revenge. It is something that I absolutely abandon in my life, as well as just a lot of other negative things that I believe are negative, by the way. And now it gets kind of clear why a friend of mine said that I should read the book, or this book. Because, well, I am not that tough. I'm not such a person. But maybe would be better for me if I was a bit like such a person. Well, 3 to go. On child and marriage. Sarah begins speaking to the disciple who is about to get married. Sarah asks the young man if he has the right to get married. He tells the young man that many men seek marriage and children out of unworthy desires. Neediness, loneliness, or animal cravings for sex or companionship. Instead, a man should want a wife and children as monuments to his enlightenment. He should want children so that he can raise them to attain the state of overman. Sarah is not opposed to children or marriage, but without the correct motivation, these can be weights on a man's soul. Sarah teaches that many men go forth to look for a wife, but instead fall prey to their own lust and animal desires. This is how a man gets into a bad marriage, when the woman controls him or the relationship between the two is a burdensome one. The correct love between a woman and a man is one in which both seek a higher existence and an enlightenment, as he explained with friends actually. A man should want most of all to attain the state of overman, and his wife and children should only be aids in that journey. I like this view a bit more than the other one about women, which might actually indeed be about young women, even though it's not making the whole thing better. I don't want to say so, but you as a young man or as a young woman, in terms of seeking relationships, like it's only for lust, it's only for playtime, as a marriage is something that should give you some strength, and that should give you, well, as he explains, a man should want most of all to attain the state of overman, and his wife and children should only be aids in that journey. As well, I do want to point out, a woman should probably also want something like that. Anyway, on free death, Sarah teaches that one should die at the right time, so he says that everyone sees dying as an important event, but people should not celebrate death. Death will only be an important event, an event to be celebrated, when a person's death becomes a goad and a promise to the living to become the overman. The correct way for a person to die is to die by giving hope and promise of the overman to those around him. The second best way for a person to die, Sarah teaches, is to die fighting. Really. Sarah then outlines different kinds of people and the different ways they will die. Some will live too long and become too old for their truths. Some are like apples that only become ripe in the fall. They are sour until later in life, but then become ripe for the truth of Sarah's teachings. Some will never find truth, and Sarah tells these people that they should wish for their own deaths. What the fuck? Sarah laments that the preachers of the day only preach for a slow death and not for the right kind of death. He laments that Jesus died too young, brought about by the evil with which he surrounded himself. Jesus, Sarah says, would have learned to live and to love the earth if he had only stayed in the desert, not to come amongst other people. Sarah predicts that his own death will be a wonderful occasion because his disciples around him will carry on his teachings of the overman. In a way, Sarah is not following his own teaching. he could have died earlier, but now he says the joy of expecting that his disciples will carry on the ideal of the overman makes his lingering on earth worthwhile. On the bestowing virtue, which is going to be the last one and also quite a long one. The time has come for Zara to leave the motley cow, and he and his disciples walk out of town. As they are walking, Zara tells them that he wants to walk alone, his disciples giving a staff on which he can lean as a present. Zara is very pleased with the present, and he gives them a teaching. He compares their search for the overman to the mining of gold. Gold, he tells them, is valuable because it is uncommon. Their virtue is the same way. It is an uncommon virtue for a man to seek to ascend to the level of overman, but because it is uncommon, it will soon become very valuable. Soon, man's soul will strive for the treasures and gems of the overman. This is selfishness, but it is a good selfishness that Zara calls holy. It is a good selfishness because although Zara and his disciples take these virtues for themselves, they do so in hope of bringing the overman to the rest of mankind. There is another selfishness as well, a sick selfishness. This is a selfishness that takes for itself but has no desire to help mankind. The selfishness does not care if others ascend to the overman. A person who looks through history will be able to see signs of these two kinds of selfishness and must be able to see the underlying passion for good and evil. Zara is a man who can read such signs. He points his disciples to the path to ascension. Zara then teaches his disciples that they should devote their attention to the earth, to spreading the good news of the overman. He tells them that humanity is a mistake, an error. Because of this mistake, madness has overcome man through history. Zara gives his disciples a teaching that will help humanity ascend to the overman. Like physicians, Zara's disciples should keep themselves healthy while also working towards the health of other people. This part of the teaching ends with an enthusiastic declaration that the earth can recover and that humanity can be redeemed through the overman. Zara ends his speech, or this speech, by telling his disciples that he is leaving them and that they should leave him as well. They should go away and even be ashamed of Zara in case he was misleading them with his teaching. He puts a twist on the New Testament teaching by telling them that a person of knowledge must be able to love his enemies and hate his friends. Zara tells them this in case they have begun to idolize him instead of his quest for enlightenment. He wants them to focus on themselves. Their own attempts at becoming the overman are more important than Zara himself. When they have truly ascended, Zara will meet up with them again. They will all meet again. He tells them to proclaim that are all gods. Now we want the overman to live. That's gonna be it. I hope that I've been able to share some cool things and interesting things